Hello and thanks for joining us on the Monday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozubaku. Today on the program, Nigeria's COVID-19 cases rise to 40,532 with 555 new cases as Ogun. Lagos governors face tremendous pressure to open churches. And later on the show, Nigeria exports $81.48 billion electricity on credits as Senate expresses concern over monthly payment of $30 million by the federal government to power firms amidst nationwide blackout. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju while Mojid Jamiu will join us via Skype. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for joining us. Amidst rising confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria, many are beginning to wonder if it was ripe to lift restrictions meant to curtail the spread. On Sunday, the country recorded 555 new cases, pushing the total infections to 40,532. In the face of this, the governor of Lagos State, which remains the epicenter of the pandemic in Nigeria, and that of Ogun State are facing tremendous pressure from religious leaders to open worship centers. But is the time ripe for such a reopening? Babajide, we've been on this case and we have over 40,000 cases now. And coronavirus has come to stay. Things are not improving. The number of spreads, over 40,000 now. As at the time we started this journey, there was a time where sub 100, and now we have over 40,000. Now the churches are saying that, look, we ought to be allowed to also assist spiritually and what have you in trying to, address this pandemic, and they're saying that you can't just keep churches. If you are considering schools, you can't just keep churches under lock and key perpetually.
Well, my own view has always been that we cannot pander to emotions in matters like this. We've seen countries where they pandered, they yielded to emotions, and they quickly rush back. They are regretting it. Look at what is happening in Brazil. At the rate the Brazilians are going, they may even overtake the US in terms of number of deaths. At the rate they are going. And it was because their president took the disease lightly. He took the disease lightly and ultimately he got infected. So the truth is, government, if not because of pressure from WAEC and all that, the government was not thinking about opening schools. What the government has said is, okay, terminal classes, come and write your papers and then go back home. And it has been a very tough decision to take. Now, if we limit the opening of schools to simply terminal classes, it means that the number of students in school will be reduced. And they should be able to manage those ones and keep those children safe, because that is a very vulnerable proportion of our population. Now, talking about high-density churches, it will be responsible of any government, high-density churches and mosques, it will be responsible of any government to simply throw the gates of religious, worship centers open, because it just makes no sense. The primary means of transmission of this disease still remains congregation in crowded places.
Babajide, allow me to just butt in there. Now, I saw the PDP rally at the Sam Ogbomodia Stadium, and I looked at it very well, the kickoff of Obaseki's rally. And, those seats in the stadium, some seats were marked XXX, the next person, showing, they maintained this social distancing. Everybody was on face mask, apart from the face mask, everybody, and all the speakers that even sat at the high table, you could see the distancing and you could see the level of, how it was well organized. And I feel that a place like that should be like a model to churches. If you have something like that, you might not have the spread of this thing.
It's easy to imagine that you can have that kind of enforcement of the protocols across board. But the moment you ease up, enforcing these things becomes a big problem.
We won't have even people to monitor this.
Who will monitor? Who will monitor? In America, what they are saying is, oh, in churches, only one person should lead in singing praise. Because they know that when the choir sings, there's no way these droplets won't come out. So it's okay, you lead, and everybody should wear mask. For our people, wearing mask is a painful experience. It's not convenient. They are not even prepared to wear. So how can you guarantee that in a church with a 50,000 capacity, that you will be able to ensure that everyone is wearing a mask? How do you guarantee that? Even they have said it that in markets, people should go out and see the level of compliance. It's abysmally low. And the problem is that in Lagos and Ogun, the biggest churches are here. You can understand why those governors are holding firm to their position that it is not yet time. If this thing begins to go down, as it will go down at some point, once we reach the peak, it will begin to go down. If it begins to go down, that can be the right time to consider easing up. But I can tell you, if you look at the South Korean example, South Korea, the spread happened largely from a church. A church. And they eventually even had to arrest the church leader. So they are just worried, because government is spending a lot of money to battle this disease. Some of the governors are already distracted. Capital projects are being rolled back. So the more the thing expands within our people, the greater the problem for the governors. So I can understand how they are thinking this way. It's easy to say, oh, we will comply, we will do this, we will do that. But when you now say, okay, go ahead, you will see that a lot of our people are reluctant to comply. How do you enforce that in a church?
MJ, what do you make of this pressure? The governments of Lagos and Ogun State are talking about pressure from religious leaders.
You know, we have discussed this issue before, but then we can't just stop emphasizing the fact that the two governors should hold firm, and they are the ones in charge. They are the chief security officers of these states, and they know how much they are spending on to treat COVID, to battle it on a daily basis. And like Jide said, we have the largest congregation of churches if not in Africa, in the Lagos-Ogun axis. And the two governors, especially the governor of Ogun State, where you have the Kenaland and the Redemption Camp, very big churches, about 50,000 congregations on the minimum for each of those churches. The governor should hold on firm to his conviction not to allow religious worship centers to open, including for Muslim clerics. I'm also a Muslim, and you see, this is not about sentiments. Unfortunately, I won't be allowing you guys to come to my house for Salah this year, because even you see, AY and Jide, jokes apart, you know, you never can tell. I mean, it's better for us to assume that you are the only one that is safe, that is negative of this virus. And even at that, somebody who is negative today, I mean, look at the States. He has tested about 3 or 4 times, negative. The last one came out positive. He's on self-isolation. So this thing is not a joke. The government of Saudi Arabia is saying that only about 10,000 pilgrims will be allowed for Hajj this year. It has never happened. The minimum they have had over the years for the annual pilgrimage to Mecca and Medina is minimum of 2 million pilgrims observing that annual religious exercise. So, and the Kano state government and the Sultan of Sokoto have decreed that there should be no the usual Kano Doba, Salah Doba, after Doba celebration, after Ileya, And I want to believe that the Ogun State government should insist too that Ojude should not hold or even be on a low key this year, because this thing is very serious. We are having minimum of 115 deaths a day in US as we speak, with about 16,000 new cases. The figures have just dropped. 2 weeks ago, last week, it was about 70,000 in a day. And Brazil is crying now. Even Madagascar, that claimed to have antidotes through the neem leaf, which we call dongoyaro, they are also crying to the World Health Organization for help now. So this thing is not a joke. And even now that the World Health Organization has told us that it is now airborne. So it is real serious. It's a serious one, and it is more prevalent in enclosed environments. The auditoriums of these churches, the mosque where we congregate, they are all enclosed. You can't compare it to a market.
Dr. Olu is calling us from London. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, Mr. Yosubakun. This is Dr. Lookere from London.
Okay, Dr. Lookere, thank you for joining us, sir.
Yeah, I like the program you are talking about, please.
Okay.
I'm also a pastor.
Okay, go ahead, sir. Doctor.
Yeah, good afternoon.
All right, go ahead with your contribution.
Thank you for this program. I really appreciate your program. Babajide Osugbakun and my dear brother from Ekiti. This is about churches reopening this time of a pandemic in Nigeria. Why are they so not even considerate? This pandemic is still killing in UK, in America, in all parts of the world. Why can't they now help the federal government to bring the money they've already taken from people to help to stop this pandemic? And again, this is the time to go for prayer, because I'm also a pastor. And we've been praying every time for this pandemic, for God to remove it totally from the land of the world. So the governor of Lagos and Ogun, or anywhere in Nigeria, they should not allow anything, whether church or mosque, temporarily until this pandemic is down.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Olokere. Jude, he justified what you are pushing for, yes. But the leaders will still insist that they have a responsibility, a spiritual obligation, spiritual responsibility to play in this COVID-19, and that's part of their ministry, that if they allow them to congregate, they will help to intervene in these 40,000 cases by instant miracles and what have you.
They don't have to gather people and congregate before they can intervene spiritually. Within the four corners of their houses, they can pray to God. Our God is not an inconsiderate entity. God listens to us. If we must get into a church at all times before God can answer us, a lot of us will be dead. God is so kind, God is so benevolent that in the corner of your house, you call to him and he answers. It's not as rigid as we human beings. It's not as rigid as powerful people in our world who cannot even show mercy. God is not like that. People should not blackmail God and give God the image that does not belong to him. You don't have to walk into a church or walk into a mosque before your prayer can be answered. So this is the point that we are making. If they want to contribute, they can pray to God. God is everywhere. That's why they say he's omnipresent. He's everywhere. So wherever you pray, he's prepared. If your heart is pure before him, he's prepared to answer. So it does not stop them from praying to God to take this disease away. And I'm sure that God will allow that to happen in the fullness of time. But to just throw caution to the wind and simply say, because it's your fundamental human right to gather, to congregate, where you're right. endangers the lives of other people, the government can take that right away. The government can take that right away. And the government is backed by law. You remember that Buhari had the quarantine law. The government is backed by law. Because they know some people who want to go to court. We have some funny human rights lawyers who, even when an action is about to be taken in the public interest, they run to court. They want to make name. So the government activated that law. So you can no longer say, oh, even when Donald Trump said, which churches must open, Donnie McCloskey said, no, I will not open my church. You want to endanger people's lives. Are we people going to say that Donnie McCloskey is not a God-loving person? Is perhaps the greatest worshiper on the face of the earth? You are talking about worshiping God in songs. Donnie McCloskey is probably the greatest. And he's also a pastor. He said, no, we won't do that. We won't endanger our lives. You are trying to play politics. We will not do that. And he refused. I'm happy. Because across the world, this kind of measures have been taken. We can't be different. It's not peculiar to Nigeria. And it's not only churches and mosques that have been closed. Event centers have remained closed. Schools, bars, restaurants, spas. Other people are sacrificing at this time so that the rest of us can be saved. Different categories of businesses are sacrificing. It's not, those children are tired of sitting at home. They want to go to school. But they know that it's at the right time that government will say they can go back.
Mojid, it's as if it's like a no-go area, as in the isolation centers now in Lagos State, I think they are filled to capacity. You can hardly have, a ready-made isolation center to go to in any state. So most people are even at home spreading this thing on a daily basis.
As a matter of fact, what the Lagos State government is doing now is because I think we have almost close to 14,000 cases in Lagos. They are encouraging self-isolation at home treatment for those who have mild cases, who are positive that they are asymptomatic. Because, like you said, the isolation centers are full to the brim. The health workers are overstretched, and I don't know why. It's the religious organizations that will be pushing for worship centers to be open. In the United States, where the pastor Jide just mentioned now, Donnie McCloskey, he was actually giving out money to his members. He was giving out money and food to them. He said as part of the tithes and the monies they have contributed to the church. But rather in Nigeria, we have situations where our religious leaders are sending out online avenues of paying tithe and paying all manners of money, even under a lockdown, whereas it should be the other way around. So I think our religious leaders should be considerate and understand that this is not about being antichrist. This is a reality that we are all facing. Several businesses are suffering. Several businesses have shut down. We have a government that does not even know how to reach out to people. They are providing some palliatives to certain people, but then we should not compound this problem by overstretching the health facilities that are even inadequate as we speak. So I think Jide, they should show some compassion.
Hold your thought there. Jide, but Moji said something and caught my attention because I've listened to some other pastors. They've actually said it that, look, this is Antichrist. These are the means, this is the way it starts. That immediately they curtail your freedom to go to church, your freedom to worship God, your freedom to, gather in the house of God. And they also say where 2 or 3 people are gathered in my name, that is the caveat the Bible gave, that these are one of the spirits of Antichrist.
It's not, if they were politicians, I know what I would say. I know what I would say to them if they were politicians. But I'm a Christian. I'm not a saint. I go to church. I contribute to the development of my church based on the resources God has given me. And I do not feel myself inferior to any Christian like me. But I disagree totally with what they are saying. And I've not heard Baba Adeboye, who, whether we like it or not, is the biggest clergyman in Nigeria. He's the biggest pastor in Nigeria, by far. I have not heard him say this thing is the work of Antichrist. The people who are saying it, we know them, and they have a history. I've not heard Baba Adeboye, I repeat it. Everything they said they should do, he obeyed. He told these people, he said, I'm not going to church. We will do this online. And they are doing it.
Every Sunday.
They are doing it. We see some church leaders have set worthy examples. The man at Daystar. Have you heard him talk like that? Is he not a pastor? Is he inferior to the people who are saying that, both in intellect and other spheres of assessing people? So we can't keep saying, oh, is the work? Is it only in Nigeria that it has happened? Are the church leaders in Nigeria better than the ones in the UK and other places, or even in the Middle East where the religion originated from? We always like to behave like we are best at practicing religion. And I've said it that there's so much religiosity in our country, but in the real sense, a lot of them are not Christ-like. They are not Christ-like because Christ admonished us to obey the laws of the land. Especially in situations like this, obey the laws of the land. So blackmailing our leaders as if they are the ones who created this situation is irresponsible. And this is not a permanent directive. We hope that we will surmount this. When we surmount it, people will go back to church.
I will do Thanksgiving.
So when we now, yes, and we'll do it in a mighty way. So when we survive, you can imagine how many people we have lost this year. Even to our own colleagues. Honestly. It's an unusual year. Honestly. And they should understand that. So when we return to church and we are now praising God, thanking God that we survived it, will they still be able to say that it's an antichrist at work? We must come together to defeat this thing. That's what matters.
Thank you, Jide. Now, Nigeria's power supply situation can be likened to one suffering in the midst of plenty. The country exported $81.48 billion worth of electricity on credits to 3 neighboring countries, Benin Republic, Togo, and Niger Republic, while businesses and households at home continued to suffer blackouts. Data from the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission shows that the invoices of the electricity supplied to the 3 countries between 2018 to 2019 and 2019. Meanwhile, the Senate is worried over monthly payments of $30 million by the federal government to power firms. The upper legislative chamber is planning a review or renegotiation of the agreement that compels the government to pay for power not consumed by Nigerians. Julie, let's start from this. It's worrisome. It's very convenient for us to go to Ghana, go to Republic of Benin, go to Togo and Niger, and we say, wow, these small countries, they have 24 hours power supply. And the big irony, when you're saying that we've exported $81.48 billion worth electricity on credits to these countries.
They are owing us.
So we export, for number one, we export electricity outside.
Yeah, it's been doing that for years, for many years.
Somebody told me that Ghana inclusive, that we export electricity to Ghana, that Ghana is there.
Yes. For a country like Niger, for example, we had no choice. We wanted, when we decided to build the Kainji Dam, the Nigerians can dam they can also build a dam and stop the flow of the Niger River, which will sabotage our own dam. So we promised them, look, we will give you electricity. Let us, because the dam itself did not originate from, the river does not originate from Nigeria, as you know. So in order to keep them, to ensure that they do not
build their own dam.
Build a dam that will ensure that the water does not flow to Nigeria so that we can build our dam, we agree with them that we'll supply them electricity. That was back then. Kainji Dam at installed capacity 700 megawatts. That was a long time ago. Kainji Dam is no longer the biggest electricity rating plant in our country. We have Egbin now. Egbin, the thermal station.
Gas.
Egbin, the gas-fired plant here
and it has been expanded.
in Lagos, which is the largest in West Africa. So the truth is, we promised them. I'm just giving this as a background so that we understand the problem. But 2018, 2019, the invoices from the electricity regulatory agency shows that these guys have been owing us this amount.
These countries.
These countries. Now, there has been pressure on them, pay up, pay up.
And we're still
by not paying, they are worsening the liquidity problem that sector is facing. By not paying. So there are all kinds of problems. But in my view, beyond the fact that we have to find a way to get these people to pay, because $80-something million is a lot of money. And if we take that money, there's a lot that they can do.
It's a $1.48 billion.
Billion, yes.
Not million, you know.
No, $1 billion. Yeah. Electricity supply every day for 2 years.
Yes.
Unpaid for. So I'm saying that if we can get them to pay, it will be significant. It will help to do a lot. There are many things that they need to do.
Infrastructure in that sector.
Especially TCN. TCN is the problem. I've said it repeatedly.
That's transmission.
Yes, that transmission is the weakest link. People keep thinking that, oh, maybe because it's that's the aspect of electricity that is not privatized. That's why I'm trying to blackmail the people, the government. But that is the truth. Because when you talk about the second leg of our discussion, which is the capacity charges that we are talking about, is tied to the fact that TCN, they signed a deal with Azura, signed another one with ACU Gas. If TCN cannot wield the power that is generated, it is not the fault of those power plants. We signed a deal to pay them what is called capacity charge. Though some of them cannot even produce at installed capacity. They don't even have access to gas, but we continue to pay them for electricity not generated. It's the same thing with the gas supplier. Their own business is produce the gas. If these people refuse to take the gas that is supplied, you still go ahead to pay. The painful thing is that where a power plant like this Azura, for example, 450 megawatts, if it is only 100 megawatts, they have 3 generators. If it's just one of those generators that is functioning because the TCN can only wheel 100 megawatts from their end, you still pay the value of 450 megawatts. You get the point. So nobody gets into such. I'm surprised that we signed this kind of agreement. Money just goes out for electricity that is not generated, for electricity that Nigerians don't see.
All right. We'll take this breather. When we come back, we'll discuss more. It's still Journalist Hangout. We'll be right back after this time out. Please stay with us. If you're just joining us, this is Journalist Hangout, reaching you from TVC News here in Lagos, Nigeria, and we're looking at the problem in the power sector. Mojid, this is like a case of an attempt to give what you don't have. If we supply to Ghana, supply to Togo, supply to Republic of Benin and Niger Republic on a constant basis, and we have blackouts in our own country.
It's rather unfortunate that we want to continue to play the big brother role, and we don't have that resources. just a digression, Ghana will, as part of its COVID-19 palliatives, will be giving electricity to those who consume less than, I think, 10-15%, which means like in Nigeria, for example, those who consume like 2,000, 3,000 naira worth of electricity per month will be given free electricity to January 2021. That's in Ghana. And this is the same Ghana that is owing, I think Ghana is also owing Nigeria. It's not up to date, but those who are owing the biggest chunk, Togo, Benin Republic, and Niger. Now, the Azura power purchase agreement was signed in 2013, whereby Azura is, by the Jonathan administration, whereby they are supposed to produce 450 megawatts of electricity. But we have 3 layers in the distribution chain. But the ones consumers see on a daily basis are the Keja Discos, Eco Discos. Those are the distribution companies. Then we have the transmission company. Then we have the power producers like the Azuras and the Siemens of this world. So it's a 3-legged stuff. And what the government does is the $30 million monthly payment is used to subsidize, just like Gide explained. They are supposed to be producing 450, but we don't even have the capacity to hold more than probably 7,500 megawatts of electricity. So even if we produce more, there is no way the transmission company can hold that power. We need to expand that capacity, and I think that's part of what Siemens is trying to do for us. So that's why there is a sort of load shedding, and also there's something we call premium power consumption. There are some estates like Banana Estate, Banana Island Estate, some estates in Lagos, Magodo, GRA. They are on 24 hours electricity, and also some estates in Abuja. They are on 24 hours electricity, but they pay premium, while others are paying like 20 naira per meter. The others are paying between 47 and 80. So, but basically, I think we should beg some of these countries to pay us. It should be moral suasion. They also don't have the resources, but as the few they have, they see Nigeria as a big brother, and I've heard some government officials saying they will be choking the likes of Togo and Benin Republic to death if we ask for those facilities. They call that the shutting down of our borders, the closure of our borders is also seriously affecting this country. So it's going to be double jeopardy if we ask them for this. So that's why Nigeria remains a big brother. But then, being that big brother, it should not be at a disadvantage to those of us who also live in Nigeria. We should find a way of increasing our own our own holding capacity, and also by extension distribution. So it's a very clumsy stuff. The power we give out to Togo, Benin Republic, and Niger, even if we hold it in Nigeria, we don't have that capacity to hold more than. That is it. So. That is it. So it's not really much.
Jide, let's look internally now. Now, if the Senate is worried of this monthly payment of $13 million by the federal government, this is something that has been privatized. This is something that was bidded for. It went through all the process. Who are the wicked people that signed this kind of agreements?
No,
because I don't know if I bought something and I got it with the liability and the assets and everything. So why do we still have this clauses that looks like a booby trap?
No, don't say they are wicked. It's not an unusual thing in the power sector globally that you enter into this kind of deal. The only problem that we were not ready, because if we were ready, every power plant has access to gas supply. If we were ready, the transmission company could evacuate all the electricity that is generated, we won't have this problem. But the Transmission Company of Nigeria, a lot of its transmission lines are old. Some of them have been there for more than 40 years. They need to be replaced. They've not replaced everything. Every time that, look, the highest we have ever generated is 5,300, and the highest that the TCN has wheeled is 5,375 megawatts. Whereas we have capacity to be able to do up to 12,000. But the TCN, even if you generate all of that, or you generate 12,000 megawatts, there's no way the TCN can evacuate all that is generated because of old transmission lines and other infrastructure that cannot take what the quantum of electricity that is generated. So the power firms, we got into an agreement with them to pay them capacity charge, so that if we do not generate, if they are unable to, because they have the capacity to generate, but TCN cannot evacuate all that is generated, you then pay them for what is generated. But what the power plants are doing now is to say, oh, my power plant, my machines are working, I have installed capacity or but due to constraints on the part of TCN, they cannot evacuate all that I can generate. You then pay. But with Azura, the deal with Azura is different. Azura's case is called take or pay. So whether the company is not generating electricity at a point, or only one of its 3 generators are active, you are still going to pay the value of 450 megawatts. That is the installed capacity of that plant. We got into that deal with them. And the Senate is saying, no, this is not right. But I'm saying that if everything had been put in place, if the TCN was fine, all the transmission lines, all this equipment are top-notch, they are not too old, we won't have this problem. Because if you try it, every time that we have tried to wheel electricity beyond 5,000, even this 5,375, which is the highest ever that we have done, it cannot last beyond 24 hours. You can see that system collapses are rampant. It is because the TCN does not have the capacity to take all that these power plants are capable of generating. So we are just giving out money for electricity that Nigerians are not using. A power plant has capacity to produce but they are unable to produce it for no fault of theirs. You then pay them for the value of what for the store capacity. So where do we go from here?
Majid, in spite of everything now, it's so clear from Jide's explanation, government will continue to be funding these private companies. We have a kind of obligation.
Yes, the people who sign this kind of agreement.
And I forgot to add, if you don't pay, if you fail, if you default on this 30 million monthly payment, they will go and take 1 billion from the foreign reserve.
From our foreign reserve?
Yeah, they'll take 1 billion. That's the agreement.
Yeah.
It's like,
and the World Bank was aware of this.
Well, he said I shouldn't call it a wicked agreement.
Because it's in our country, we've seen Nigeria go into concessionary agreement and all that we refuse to comply with. Remember the one that happened in the aviation sector with Mavis?
Yes.
So people now, they are wise. They will enter into this kind of agreement so that whether you like it or not, you must pay. If you default.
It's the type of agreement we also sign with P&ID, and which has gotten us into serious problem where there are still a litigation on that. The people who goes into this kind of agreements on behalf of the federal government, I don't think they have the interest of Nigerians at heart, because now, whether we like it or not, like Jide said, even if these guys generate just 50 megawatts per month, we are bound to pay them $30 million. It's like a credit, it's like a guaranteed period. Like you are trying to, as a matter of fact, they need this $30 million to take a facility of $230-something million. So I don't know how somebody will sign this kind of agreement, which is like funding Azura, whereas they'll tell the federal government that they have this facility to put in place and they'll give us a moratorium. But at the end of the day, they come with some funny arrangements that will even take more from the federal government. Look at $30 million in a year, for example. That's $360 million. We can actually use that to do so many other things. So I think going forward, such agreements should be reviewed. And I'm happy that the Senate is seeking a legal advice on how to review this agreement so that we won't have to end up paying $1.2 billion if there is a default.
Did they, even with all the monies, all the investment in this world, if we were talking the other time, you were saying that if a particular amount of money is not pumped into this sector every year, in the next, let's say, 7 to 12 years, that we cannot see improvements, we cannot get out of the doldrums. So the best option for the federal government right now, the federal government is broke, they don't have money, and we have to maintain these things. And most of these facilities, they're old.
Yeah, and that's why you can see that the federal government changed its mind about building the Mambila power plant this year. You know, what we had initially was that the money retrieved, the Abacha loot, part of it will be used to start the Mambila project. But they've already announced that no, that they are going to focus on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway and the second Niger Bridge. So the Mambila plant that should give us about 3,500 megawatts, of hydropower, that one remains in the cooler. Nobody is talking about it because even the funding for it is not there unless the Chinese come in to help of the Chinese export bank comes in to help us. We will not be able to find that kind of money. Liquidity is a big problem, but a lot of illicit money. I call it illicit because these power plants do not deserve some of the money that they are getting.
Let me halt you a little bit. Pedro is calling us from Tokyo, Japan. Thank you for joining us, Pedro.
Yeah, good morning, my friend.
Okay, good morning, Pedro. Let's assume that
his morning.
Good morning.
Yes, go ahead with your contribution, Pedro.
First time caller.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay. Can I say a very big thank you to everybody at the studio there, and especially Mr. Babajide.
Thank you.
You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Babajide, I want to thank you so much because most of the time I do from work, I always rush home to watch this program. Sometimes most of your analysis are very correct, but there are some of them I disagree with.
That's normal, sir. But
together, I just want to something concerning the issue you guys are discussing about now.
Yeah.
Concerning the electricity stuff. I think there is a problem already in the country. Foundation has been completely destroyed. Whatever that is going to come in there financially, imagine, look at the huge amount of money that is being thrown. So if at all the country involved, the country that is when Nigeria decides to put back today, that money is not going to be used for the right cause. So I don't think it is going to be possible for Nigeria to catch up with the rest of the world. Because
Okay, Pedro, we have to move on. Thank you for your contribution. No. Thank you for watching all the way from Tokyo, Japan. That's quite far. As you were saying, Jide.
Yes, I think that illicit money, I call it illicit money because it's money not deserved. Power plants sometimes have gas constraints. Now, they have no access to gas, either because the gas pipeline was breached by vandals who do not know that you cannot pipe the gas even if you break the pipeline. They don't have access to gas supply, so they can't produce. Or if they have like 3 or 4 plants, generators, they will use one because they don't have the capacity, enough gas to be able to fire all their turbines. What do we then do? We then pay them capacity charge. So I'm saying that even a lot of those power plants have been dishonest. They've been tampering with figures just so that Nigeria can pay them a lot more by way of capacity charge. This capacity charge, government must do something about the capacity charge because it's just like frittering away money. And then if you go and sign a deal with a gas company that, oh, you are going to produce this volume of gas, and that this is what we will pay at any given time. Now, if they are in position to supply, and the power plant does not need all of the gas that they have capacity to supply, you then still go ahead and pay for everything. I mean, it's strange. And what are we even doing? Last Saturday, we generated 3,209 megawatts. A country like South Africa generates more than 40,000 megawatts daily. We did just 3,219. Peak generation ever in our country, 5,375.
Ever.
We have a long way to go. Yes, and it didn't even last more than 24 hours. We've had repeated, what was it called? System collapse. Okay. We've had between November 1 and November 1, 2013 to May 2020, we've had a total of 83 total system collapse.
83.
And 25 partial. When it is total, that means the whole country has suffered a blackout. And this whole thing is down to the need to do so much about the transmission company of Nigeria. There's a lot that we need to do there. We have to tell ourselves the truth.
And that is the harm that the federal government is holding
100%.
So substantial.
The rest of them, they have 40% shares in Discos, they have 40% shares in Gencos. But for TCN, they have 100% control. That was why when Fashola was saying that they have privatized the sector, I disagreed. If you are holding on totally to 100% at TCN,
sometimes they will
and
tell
you are taking 40,
you have national security.
You have a 40% holding in Discos, 40% in Gencos. How can you say you have totally privatized the sector? That's not right.
Mujid, so way forward. What should the federal government should be doing now?
Yes, I pray that we get serious with the arrangement with Siemens, where we expect to generate about 11,000 megawatts by 2023, and starting with 7,000 megawatts by 2021. I think ultimately it's supposed to peak at 25,000 megawatts. So if we are able to do that, I mean, the arrangement is in conjunction with the transmission company of Nigeria, as well as the Nigerian Electricity Regulations Commission. So if we are able to firm up the agreement with Siemens, probably we could be out of the woods in terms of electricity production, generation, transmission, and distribution. Because as it were, like they said, 40,000 megawatts I doubt if it's even sufficient for us in Nigeria, and we are doing less than 5,000 in the peak at the moment. So we need to up our game if we really need to develop at a faster rate and compete very well in terms of encouraging our local content and the cottage industries, which actually requires this electricity. It's still the cheapest form of electricity or power, so to say, compared to companies running on diesel and other sources of power.
I think it's going to be a running topic. Yes. This particular topic, very germane, and a lot of Nigerians who are all concerned.
Yes, we would like the Minister of Power, or even the President, the Vice President who supervises this sector, to help us throw some light on this. Hopefully, tomorrow that can happen, because Nigerians are worried. They want improved electricity supply, and they are hoping that will happen sooner than later.
It should not be just this case of hopelessness, because it's very difficult for the picture we painted earlier today and the situation. I think hopefully, because of time, we know that maybe the Vice President will speak to us tomorrow if we still stay on this topic, and we're able to shed more light on this. And I want to thank you, Moji Jamiu. Moji Jamiu has relocated, I think it's somewhere from Magodo now to Ogun. Best bargain. Thank you, Moji Jamiu, for joining us from Best Bargain. And
he has run away from celebrating Ileya. It is well.
BQ, the beginning of a new week.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and that's a wrap on today's show. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch Journalists on Hangout on our platforms showing on the screen. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Bye for now. God bless Nigeria, and please stay safe.